Hi, I'm Kylie, and I got to play Freakish Times by Leslie Jo Morazona on page 1110 to 1115. The play has two characters, an old woman and a young woman. And so it starts out as the old woman is sniffing around a graveyard, and she finds an open grave with a young woman in it. The young woman gets up at being touched by the old woman, and we learn that she is undead, which they give off the impression that that's pretty normal, but it wasn't normal that the young woman doesn't remember how she died. So then the old woman tells her a little bit of the history of what's happened in this post-apocalyptic world set sometime after the 25th year after the plague. She says, "An evil time, when the devil's blanket fell upon the earth and covered it whole. The year I was born, the land became charred. We had no place to live except in the ocean. I grew up inside a whale's belly, and the year blood flowed between my legs. The devil grew bored and took his blanket back. I walked on land for the first time. Babies became children before I learned how to use my legs properly. And when I was able to walk without fear, the plague came. Everywhere one saw only dead bodies. They say it was called the Black Plague and came to a city called Euro hundreds of years ago, but we called it the Red Plague because the infected were covered with festering red sores that made the body hot as if a fire burned inside them. There was nothing we could do for them except listen to their screams." So it's clearly like it was a very dark time, and that the play conveys the dark times still. So the old woman's really creepy throughout. There's a lot of hints that she plans on eating the young woman, and the young woman then picks up on this and almost tries to coerce her out of eating her. She seems to try and give excuses as to leave and do anything like that, but the old woman's very strict on this. And so throughout the dialogue, we also learn a lot about the two characters. The old woman was born in a whale, and her mother died in birth. We also learn from the young woman that she died during childbirth. So they give a lot of similarities in which the old woman is born and the young woman, it dies. So after all this, the young woman tells her more about her daughter, anything that she can remember. But then the old woman lifts her veil to show that she is the daughter. The young woman eventually seems to come to terms with being eaten, and I think that although it's not shown at the end of the play that she eventually is eaten, and she's almost happy to do that for her daughter because the old woman and her entire colony are starving. The inciting incident, the incidents that happen before the play that lead up to the time, is the blanket of hell and the plague. The point of attack is when the young woman wakes up and is undead, and when she meets the old woman. The rising action is when the old woman begins to mention how she would eat the young woman. The climax is when the young woman tells the old woman to eat her heart. The falling action is when the young woman reveals seeing her daughter before she dies, and when the old woman tells us more about her time in the whale. And the resolution is when the young woman and the old woman know they are mother and daughter, respectively. The old woman has the desire to eat. She is starving, and her people are starving. The young woman is the obstacle. She does not want to be eaten, as I don't think anyone is. And then later, her desire is to find her daughter, which the old woman is her obstacle because she cannot find her daughter if she is eaten. The beats are: the old woman finds the young woman engraved, the young woman is undead. We learn about the devil's blanket, we learn that having 5 fingers is abnormal, so all the people now are evolved. The next beat is when we learn the young woman cannot remember her death. The Next B is when we learn that the old woman plans to eat the young woman by her saying, "I will chew gently," while talking about the young woman's muscles. The next B is when we learn that the young woman died in childbirth. Then we learn the old woman did not know her mother. Then we learn that the young woman reveals her daughter has an abnormality. And then we learn that the old woman and the young woman are mother and daughter. They're actually, that's all that I have for that. But a game was based off of this play. And it's not really about the old woman and the young woman, but it's in this time. And if you go into the website, it has a quote from the play, in which the one I read to you that says, "An evil time when the devil's blanket fell upon the earth." So it's about living in that time period. Great, thank you.